My pantry was being held together by zip ties, and it worked until it didn't. I was standing in my kitchen and filling up my glass of water, and all of a sudden I hear this loud crash coming from my pantry. I open up the pantry door and I look inside, and there is a jar of spaghetti sauce splattered all over the floor. There's glass and spaghetti sauce everywhere. And I'm thinking, how in the world did this jar of spaghetti sauce fall off the shelf? And all of a sudden I hear the snap and I see the zip tie go flying through the air. And I look up to see this 8-foot long shelf in our pantry start caving in, and all these cans and glass jars are starting to get to the edge and about to fall. So I jump in, I put my hands under the shelf, and I'm holding it up. I'm like, okay, my husband is outside doing the leaf blower. He is not going to hear me if I start yelling. Like, I think my kids are in the basement. So I start yelling, Tegan, Cora. And luckily they heard me and they come running up like, Mom, why are you screaming? I'm like, go get your dad. We got to clean this up. So I'm looking at these cans over here and I'm like, I'm okay if the cans fall off because they're not going to make a big mess. But these glass jars, I am really worried about those falling to the floor, and I had to clean up more than just this one spaghetti jar on the floor. And as we get done cleaning this up, my husband's like taking all the things off while I'm trying to hold up the shelf. And we finally get done, and he looks at me and he says, honey, I think it's time we replace the pantry shelves like we've been talking about for years. How many times in our lives do we say we're going to do something later? We're going to fix something later. We don't make it a priority. And I didn't know he had it held together by zip ties, but how many times in our lives do we try to hold things together with zip ties or duct tape or whatever we can find to make it happen? And the truth is, we all do it. We all do it in different ways. But when it comes to your business, you can't afford to be putting things together that aren't going to give you a solid foundation. You need to have that solid foundation in place so that you're not trying to zip tie and duct tape things together and cleaning up the glass jars that are falling to the floor, because that's going to slow you down in your business. And we want to speed up your business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about how to speed up your startup. Because as someone just getting their business started, I want to see you grow and scale and do the exciting things that you can in your business to make it prosper, to make it grow faster. And I'm guessing you're here because you have started a business and it just isn't growing as fast as you had hoped. And you want to know how to get more leads and more clients quicker so that you can speed it up, right? Or you have a business idea, but you don't have any idea how to get started with getting paying clients. Or maybe you feel like you've been running on that career treadmill for way too long and it isn't going the way you want it to, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of your job. I know that most people are listening to this because of one of those three things. If you can relate, just put yup in the comment. Yup, that's me in the comments if you can relate to one of those three. Because the truth is that we are not a product of our circumstances. We are products of our decisions. Our decisions are what got us here. Our decisions are why we are at the place we are at. And when you are trying to start a business, there's a lot of decisions you need to make. And sometimes you don't know the right decision, or you don't know exactly what steps to take. So I want to give you some tools, some things that you can do. And we're going to talk about the mistakes that I see a lot of entrepreneurs making when they're first starting and what to do instead so you don't make the same mistakes when you're getting your business started. Because it is so crucial that we start making better decisions. And I know you've probably heard from every motivational speaker, you've got to make better decisions. I wrote a book on how to make better decisions. My book is actually called You Already Made the Decision, You're Just Not Happy with It. And that is the truth. You've made a lot of decisions that have gotten you to this point in your life of where you're at. you're just not happy with all the decisions you've made. So I want to help you to figure out what that next step is for you, how to make some of these better decisions, and get the clarity that you need to speed up your startup. It all starts with clarity. It all starts with being really clear on what it is you want, why you want it, how you can get it, who can help you with it, and getting some of those questions answered for you so that we can really put some solid foundations in place and get a speed up on your startup. I grew up on a farm in Michigan, and we had three-wheelers, and we would ride them through the fields. And when the fields were really dry, we would do these 360s, and it would send all this dust flying through the air. And we got to a point where we would have to stop because we couldn't see anymore which way we were going. And we knew that there was a pond on one side and a ditch on the other. And so if we didn't stay close to the path, we were going to be swimming in the pond, or we were going to be stuck in the ditch. And so we had to stop at some point in order to figure out where to go, because everything was flying up around us with all this dust. And that's what happens in your life when you have all these ideas, all of these things spinning in your mind, and you don't know which direction to go in. So you have a couple options. You can stop, let it settle, and figure out, okay, what is that right next step? Whatever is that path for me? But sometimes it takes stopping. Or you can find someone who has been through that path before to guide you through it. Someone who can see above that dust of cloud that's spinning around in your head, that can show you the direction of where you need to go, because that is going to help you get there faster. So how many of you here want to make more money? How many of you, give me some dollar signs in the chat if you want to make more money? How many of you here, you're like, I want to make more, I want to grow my business, I want to do more, you're trying to replace your income, or you're trying to save for something big, or you're just trying to get by on the day-to-day expenses. So if I were to pick one of you and say, okay, you want to make more money, give me your address. I'm going to send you some more money. And you get so excited because you're like, yes, Tami's sending me some money. And the day comes, you go out to the mailbox, and you kind of forgot about it by then, but you open the mailbox and you're like, oh, there's something from Tami. Oh my gosh, she sent me some money. And you're so excited. You go and you open up that envelope, and inside it is a $1 bill. Are you going to be happy? Are you going to be so overly excited that you now have this money, this $1 bill in your mail? Probably not. I mean, you might be a little thankful that you got something, but most of the time people are like, yeah, this is going to my kid's piggy bank, or you're gonna go. I mean, you can't even buy a pack of gum anymore for $1. So it's it doesn't feel like it's much. But when we are not clear on exactly what we want, when we're not specific in what we are trying to achieve, then when that $1 bill shows up and we've been saying we want more money, or you don't even consider that more money. We just throw it to the side and we don't even realize it's helping us get to our goal. So the first thing is you've got to be very specific and clear on what it is you want. When I decided I was going to start my business and leave my corporate job of 20 some years, and had been in leadership roles and worked my way up, and I loved what I did. I loved the people I worked with. I just didn't love all the politics and everything, and I wanted to be able to make a bigger impact. And I had decided I was going to start my coaching business. And so as I was planning this out, I'm like, okay, what is it going to take for me to actually leave my job? Because for a while it was I went through and got my coaching certification, and I was doing things to start building my business, but I was still working full time. What is it going to take for me to actually turn in my resignation? And so I set some very specific goals. And one of them was a goal I set to get as my bonus the next year. And I thought about that goal every day. As I'm walking into my office, instead of being dragging myself in, what am I going to have to go through today? I started thinking about, what is the day going to feel like when I turn in my resignation? That day that I know that this means that my business is now successful and I am able to go out and do my business full time. And I would get pumped up about this and just like thinking and get excited about that day that was going to come. And I set this goal of what I wanted to hit for my bonus that next year. And the day came where my boss finally called me and was giving me my numbers and telling me what it was going to be. And I about fell off my chair when he gave me my bonus number, because it was the exact number I had been thinking about for months. And this was not a number. I had never gotten this much as a bonus before. It was far beyond anything I had ever received. And so it was a big stretch, right? It wasn't like just, okay, yeah, that's going to be easy and expectation and just, plan for it. No, it was a big stretch and I didn't know how I was going to make it happen. And so if I wanted a sign that that was the time for me to leave that job, turn in my resignation and go full time into my business, that was it. Like, you've been saying this is what it's going to take for you to feel like you have the security to leave and be able to build your business and have some income and money sitting aside to be able to grow your business. And so you need to be very specific in your goals. So I want to just start with that, because it's so important to understand, what is it going to take for you? What is it going to take for you to, what's the number you need to hit every month in your business? If you have a bonus coming up, what bonus could you get that you're excited about that's going to give you enough to be able to go start your business? What is it going to take for you to be able to do it? Be specific, be clear. And it's not always about money. There's other factors that take into place too, right? And so as you're getting more clarity and getting those foundations in place, I want you to think about how you want to establish your business. Because one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is trying to sell the process and not address the pain. So many people out there are, talking about the process that they have. They've been through certain trainings, or I do energy work. So I have a great respect for energy work when I say this. Like, they get into the woo of the energy work and the transformations that they make on people, but nobody understands what that means. And if that's not your ideal client's language, you can't be using that language. And you're not addressing the pain that the people are in. So instead, you've got to think about, what is that pain they're in? So in the end of February, I hit my head unexpectedly on my daughter's loft bed. And at first, I'm like, okay, that hurt. Made a loud noise. My husband downstairs was like, what was that? And I sat down, put some ice on it for a little bit. And when I got up, I couldn't walk. I started feeling nauseous. And I was like, oh my goodness, I think I have a concussion. So when I went to the neurologist, she didn't ask me, she didn't sit there and say, okay, this is the process I'm going to take you through. This week we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that. No, she didn't get into the process at all. She started asking me, what is the pain you are in? What are the symptoms you are having? And so I started telling her, I hit my head here, and, I'm nauseous, and I have a headache, and my head hurts, and my eyes twitching sometimes, and like all of these different pains I was in. All I cared about was getting out of the pain. I did not care what process she took me to. I mean, if I knew that it was going to get me out of the pain and get rid of the concussion and heal my brain injury, that's what I cared about. And the same is true for your clients. They only care about getting out of the pain they are in. They don't care what steps in your 10-step program you're going to take them through. They just want to know that that program is going to work for them and get them the results that they need. Does that make sense? So you've got to focus on the pain that they are in and how you're going to get them through that. And the second mistake I see is not giving the diagnosis. Now, the doctor didn't just say, you've got a concussion. No, she went so much deeper. She actually did some tests that evaluated some things within my body that I didn't even know were happening. And when she came back to give me her diagnosis, she's like, okay, well, you hit the left side of your brain, which impacts the right side of your body. And so all of your test results show that the right side of your body is slower in reacting to things. I didn't even know that was happening, right? But she diagnosed exactly what was going on. And the same is true with your clients. Like, you have to give them the diagnosis. Why are they having the pain they're in? What is it that is causing it? And what are those side effects that they may not even be thinking about that you can help them overcome? Because sometimes they don't relate the side effects to what is happening for them. So you have to be really clear on what the diagnosis is for them, what the pain is for them. And then thirdly, the third mistake that I see people making is not having a strategy. You have to have a strategy in your business. You have to know what it is you're going to do, because as soon as you put on that entrepreneur hat and say, I'm an entrepreneur, and you're like, yeah, you're putting it out there on social media and you're all excited about all the things that are happening, every single social media aspect out there now is like, ooh, I'm going to target her because she is now a business owner, or he has just started this kind of business. And I know that if they come into my program, I can help them with their Facebook ads or their Instagram or LinkedIn, all these different things. And you are getting targeted with all of these different ads saying, I have the one solution that's going to help you fix your, you name it. And so, I have the one thing that's going to make you millions. I have the perfect solution to getting you the most consistent leads. And the thing is, like, all of those things work at some point, but they're not all right for startups. And so you have to know what to do when in your business. You have to have the right strategy that works for you with where you are at in your business. And people start giving you all these ideas of where you should start. Maybe you should go to networking events because you got to meet people and you got to be able to tell them what your message is. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to go to some networking events. Then you're trying to figure out, what do I say? What do I do at these networking events? You're like, maybe I should try speaking because then I can just get up on stage and speak to people like I'm doing here with you today, and people will engage with me. And now you're like, I've got to come up with a topic and a subject and figure out what I'm going to say and what's my call to action. And you start getting overwhelmed with that. And you're like, well, maybe I should just do a webinar. And then you start getting into, how do I do a webinar? Or maybe you should do Facebook groups because everybody has a Facebook group. I need a Facebook group, right? Or maybe you need to do a group program or an online course because then it's like that residual income that's going to come in. Or maybe you should start with a freebie because you need to get people on your list because that's where the security is. So you're like, what do I do for my freebie and how do I create my freebie? Or maybe I should do Facebook ads to get my freebie out there or to promote my programs. How do I do that? And how do I get out there? And then you're like, well, maybe I should do Google ads, or, maybe I should try LinkedIn because that's where my people are. I feel comfortable there. Or maybe it's Instagram for you and you're like, I got to go to figure out how to do reels and how do I get myself out there? Or maybe it's YouTube and I want to create videos, or maybe it's Clubhouse because that's really trendy right now. Or TikTok, because people are blowing up on TikTok these days. And there are so many options out there these days. It is so overwhelming, right? It's like, what do you do when? And you're trying to figure it out. And so I just want to start by going through a few stages of business with you to give you a little bit of a baseline of knowing what to do when. Because without knowing, like, all of those things worked. Every single one of those things that I talk about works at the right time in your business. But you have to introduce one, get good at it, and then go to the next and the next. You don't just start introducing all of them at the same time. Those are the shiny objects we talk about. You get distracted by the shiny object syndrome. And so when we talk about the stages of business, this is my graph and how I describe your stages of business. So you've got the dreamer, and that's the stage where you're like, I want to start a business. I am like thinking about it. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. You're dreaming about it. You may even be like taking some courses and things, but you haven't made any money yet. You're still dreaming about the business. And then there is the designer. And the designer is in that first phase. They are, somewhere between 0 and 5,000 a month. They are kind of designing their programs, figuring out what it looks like, working with their first client, trying to get their proof of concept, and making sure that what they're selling works. They're in that designer phase. And then you move into the builder stage. And at the builder stage is when you start introducing a little bit more in your business. You start building it out. What does your program look like? You have a main, for coaches and consultants, you have a high ticket offer, and then you may have a downsell. And you may have one other thing you're offering, but you really want to keep it simple still, even at this point. And at the builder stage, you're getting to that $10,000 consistent income. You're really building that business, doing the hustle, getting clients, finding leads, getting out there. And then you get into the expander phase. And the expander phase is when you can start adding in some fun things, like not that the other parts aren't fun because it's all fun, right? But you can start adding in things like maybe you want to do a retreat or host an event, or you add in some like mastermind group or something additional into your programs. You've proved out that your program works. You've worked with people individually. You now have some group things going on, and you're expanding the business. And then you get into the influencer stage. And we even go on beyond this influencer stage, but I'm going to talk about these main ones because I think that's where most people are probably at. And the influencer stage is when you have a large list, you have a large following, and income is coming in pretty, it's just kind of on churn because you're doing the right things. You're making a bigger impact. You can do things in your business on a larger scale because you have a large scale team. And what happens is people in that dreamer phase, they see people in the influencer phase, and they're trying to figure out how to get from here to here. And they try to skip all the phases in between. And you can't skip a phase. You can go quickly through a phase, but you can't skip a phase. And so you have to understand what exactly you need to be doing in each of those phases. And so it all starts with getting a plan and working the plan. You have to have a plan. You have to have a plan that's going to help you grow. You have to have a plan that's going to help you do the right strategies, because it also keeps you from being distracted by the wrong strategies. So what clarity is brought to you from your plan is you define the problem you solve. You've got to define that problem that you're solving for people. Be really clear on that. You've got to identify who your ideal clients are. You've got to establish what your program is. You can't be getting on a phone call with a client and being like, well, program's kind of like this, and then you're listening to them, you're like, I don't think they're going to pay my fee, so I'm going to only charge them this. No, you've got to be really clear on your program, what it is, how much it is, what it includes, all of those things. Then you've got to establish your goals and know your numbers. You cannot grow a business without knowing your numbers. I am a recovering CPA. I tried to not have to bring my accounting knowledge into my business when I got started because I was like, you know what? I don't need to be running numbers all the time. And what I learned is that, yes, I do. I need to understand it. I need to know how many people I have to actually talk to every month in order to hit my goal. Because then I know what I'm working towards. When you're just like, I want to make $10,000 a month, and you're like, well, I just need 4 clients this month to do that. If you're charging like $2,000 a month, well, do you know what it's going to take you to get to 4 clients? What is your conversion rate? How are you going to get those people onto calls? What is the strategy you're using to get there? So you got to be really clear on what those are, and then determine the strategy. Like I said, what is the strategy you're going to use to get those people onto a call where you can close them into your program? And what this plan does for you is help you to build your confidence, because people buy from you based on your confidence. You see somebody walking down the street and you're like, you look based on how confident they are. They're going to buy or not buy from you based on how confident you are in your program, in what you're offering. And so you've got to establish and build that confidence. It also helps you build that courage, because now you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I know what my strategy is. Now you have the courage to take that first step. And then you can get clear on the next step, and you can take the next step and the next step. And that helps to build momentum, right? And you have to be consistent in your approach. Consistency is so key. You can't just try something once. The first time you do a Facebook Live, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to want to go delete it. And your first Facebook Live is not going to bring you millions of clients. It takes consistency in the approach that you're using. So you do one and it didn't work well, you do it again. The same is true with any method you try. The first time you do something, it's not always going to be it's not always going to be easy. But you have to be consistent in trying. I love this quote that there will be obstacles, there will be doubters, there will be mistakes, but with hard work, there are no limits. And this is what it's like in growing your business. There's going to be obstacles in your way. And with the right coach and the right people that are helping you, you can get over those obstacles so much faster. There's going to be doubters in your life saying, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? Why are you quitting your job to do this? There's going to be mistakes that you make. It's okay. It's how quickly you learn from those mistakes, adjust from them, and transform it into something that makes you a profit. That's going to make a difference. Because if you stay consistent, if you put the hard work in, there are no limits in what you can do. And I know that for each of you. So it's like with my kids, when we did remote learning, my daughter was learning how to spell. She was in first grade at the time. We started the whole remote learning when COVID hit. And I am not a school teacher. I never wanted to be a school teacher. My sister is, bless you. But when I had to help her learn all these different sounds and how to spell things, the English language is really quite crazy. So there was one week there was 5 different combinations of letters that all made the same sound. And I'm like, how is she ever going to learn this? And so when we go through spelling, I'm like, how do you spell this? And she'd give me a response. And I'm like, nope. What's another option? What is another option for that? And we would work through it. We just keep trying. You don't just give up and say, oh, she's not going to be a good speller. No, you keep trying, you keep working at it, because with consistency, you can make it happen. You will get better. And so I encourage you to, when you get in that place and you're like, oh, it's just not working, it's not happening the way I want it to, think about how you could, what's another option for you? How you could look at something from a different perspective. What's another way to spell something? What's another way to do something to make it better? So something didn't go right the first time. What went wrong? Taking a look at those things helps you get better. And the last one is commitment. You've got to be committed to what you want to make happen. This is what I call the clarity trifecta. And I won't go into all the details of this is in my book, but everything starts with clarity, that bubble in the middle. And when you want to make a change, when you are making a decision to do something differently, it all starts with clarity. And when you first make that change, when you first decide to start your business, your clarity bubble's really small. You're like, okay, I know I want to start a business. You're not exactly sure what it is yet, who you're going to help, how you're going to do it. But as you start answering those questions, that clarity bubble grows. And as it does, it pushes out on the 3 sides of the triangle, which are your courage, your commitment, and your confidence, and they start to grow as well. And I put a consistency bubble around this because you have to be consistent in order to get the snowball effect, right? And we want the snowball effect for that momentum where it starts growing faster and faster and faster, and it gets easier and easier and easier. And that's what you want to create. And so this is the formula I use for making any lasting change, but you can use this in starting your business. Asking yourself, where do you need to get clarity? Where are you lacking the confidence, the courage, the commitment, or the consistency that isn't happening in your business for you today? But all I want to ask you to do today is commit to your decision. What is the decision you need to make today? Do you need to commit to your business? Do you need to commit to finding someone to help you? Do you need to commit to finding the right strategy? Do you need to commit to figuring out what the pains are of your people so you can talk to them in a better way? What decision are you going to commit to today? And I want you to really commit to your brighter future. Commit to your brighter future by grabbing the Jumpstart Kit. This is my free kit that gives you so many resources in here. There's so much in here, but it teaches you how to get a jump start on your offer, how to get a jump start on your clients, how to get a jump start on your strategy, and how to get a jump start in your business so that we can speed up your startup. You can get that at thejumpstartkit.com. And I'm just going to leave you with this one story. I was talking to my daughter in the other night, and she asked me for a back massage and a foot massage. And as I'm tucking her in, I said, I think you're a pretty lucky girl, because I don't think every little girl is getting a back massage and a foot rub every night. And she looks up at me and she says, Mommy, that's because they don't ask. And her little words of wisdom were like a slap in the face to me that night, and they are a lesson for all of us. We need to be completely clear on what we want and what she thinks she needs a massage every night, what you need, so that you're not afraid to ask for it. You need to have the courage and the commitment to go out and ask for it and be committed and consistent and not give up. Because if I tell her no one night, she is right back asking again the next night. And that's what you need to be in your life and in your business. So I want you to have the courage to go out and ask today. Be committed and consistent to what you want, and grab that Jumpstart Kit. And I can't wait to see you all and see where your businesses grow.